The planet Mars, or Barsoom as the people living there call it, isn't as dead as many people think, although it's unfortunately close to it. The city of Zodanga, ruled by their power-hungry leader Sabthan, is a moving city that devours other cities, eventually draining energy and life in Barsoom. Fortunately, there's one city that dared to resist and fight back, which is the city of Helium. However, one incident changed the tide of the war between the two cities. One day, Sabthan was cornered in a sandstorm and was seen to fall from his grace. Yet he was rescued by three people who easily decimated everyone but him. The three monk-looking people approached him, and the one in the middle, Mete Shang, granted Sabthan with the very weapon they used to eliminate everyone. Mete Shang explained that the three of them served the goddess and that she chose Sabthan to be the ruler of Barsoom under the condition that he will always follow Mete Shang's commands. Meanwhile, back on Earth in the city of New York in the year 1881, a guy named John Carter is being followed by a suspicious-looking man. After losing him, Carter goes straight to a post office to send a telegram to his nephew, Edgar Rice Burroughs. After receiving the telegraph, Edgar, or Ned as Carter used to call him, immediately goes to see his uncle, only to find out that he passed away already. Arriving at Carter's mansion, Ned is greeted by Noah Dalton, his uncle's lawyer. Not long after, Ned sees all of his uncle's hard work in finding what seems to be a medallion. And just as he found it, his sudden death followed. Hearing that, Ned remembers that his Uncle Carter used to tell him wondrous stories when he was a child that he enjoyed so much. Wanting to pay his respect, he asks Dalton to take him to Carter's mausoleum. Yet, there's no keyhole on the door, and it can only be opened from the inside, which was a specific request from Carter himself. Going back inside the study, Dalton reads Carter's last will to Ned, stating that all his wealth and property now belong to him. This shocks Ned, reasoning that although he had a good relationship with his uncle, it has been so long since the two of them met. In turn, Dalton gives him Carter's journal, saying that only Ned was permitted to read it, so it must have the explanation that he's looking for. Confused, Ned immediately reads Carter's journal where another wondrous story is written for him to indulge. 13 years ago, in the Arizona Territory, Carter devotes his life to finding what he calls the Spider Cave of Gold. However, he gets arrested by Colonel Powell, who wants to recruit Carter into their fight with the local Apaches. As it turns out, Carter was a Confederate captain before he became a treasure hunter. But Carter has other priorities, so he tries to escape over and over again until he finally does. Yet he doesn't get away far enough as he gets cornered by a band of Apaches in front and the U.S. cavalry soldiers at the back. A battle then ensues between the two groups when a U.S. soldier shoots one of the Apaches, catching Carter in the middle. Luckily, he manages to get away unharmed, but Powell isn't as lucky as him. Saving the colonel from the Apaches, they escape to a nearby cave. Seeing how the Apaches back away in fear, Carter follows where they're looking and realizes that they are in the Spider Cave. Inside, Carter finally finds the Cave of Gold that he's been searching for a long time. Unexpectedly, one of the monk-looking men from Barsoom shows up and attacks Carter. Powell alerts him of the attacker, allowing Carter to dodge and fight back. In the end, he shoots the monk-looking man and hears him mumbling in his dying moments. At this moment, the medallion in his hand glows, so Carter gets it and utters the word Barsoom. And with that, Carter strangely finds himself in the middle of the desert. When he tries to walk, he keeps on stumbling for some reason, so he tries jumping and it happens to be more suitable for him. After a while, Carter finds a nest. But to his surprise, the creatures hatching from the eggs are something that is not of Earth. As it turns out, Carter has just been transported to Barsoom, but he doesn't know it yet. Just then, a tribe of alien creatures called Thark shows up and attacks him. Luckily, he evades the attack by jumping so high that it even impresses the leader of the tribe. With that, the tribe leader named Tars Tarkus stops the others from attacking Carter. However, Carter still attacks Tars but fails miserably. Due to that, they bring him in and treat him as if he's one of the new hatchlings. Carter is then taken under the care of a female Thark named Sola who is covered by burnt marks. After cleaning him along with the other hatchlings, Sola makes him drink something that allows Carter to finally understand their language. Meanwhile, in the city of Helium, Deja Thoris rehearses how to explain to her father the solution she discovered to defeat Zodanga. Shortly after, her father, Tardos Mors, who is the leader of Helium, arrives, but he seems to be burdened by something. As it turns out, they are already losing the war against Zodanga. At this time, Deja exclaims that there's still hope for them. Then, she explains to them the element called the Ninth Ray. According to her, upon reading the reports on Sabthan's weapon, it heavily resembles the said element that has unlimited power. Deja points out that Sabthan only uses it to satiate his hunger for power, but in their hands they can use the Ninth Ray to bring back life to Barsoom. She asks for more time to work on the element, but one of the people in the room turns out to be a monk-looking man that works with Mete Shang. Acting discreetly, he destroys Deja's machine, removing all hope that she shortly brings to everyone. With that, Tardos orders everyone to leave as he wants to talk to his daughter privately. At this moment, he reveals to Deja that Sav then offers to unite the two cities if she accepts his hand in marriage. As expected, Deja doesn't approve of this, but Tardos insists that they have no other choice and that it's for the safety of their people. Later that night, Carter tries to escape, but he's being followed around by a frog/dog creature called Woola. When he jumps into the hall, Woola still follows him, so the Tharks start beating it up. Acting quickly, Carter jumps down to stop them and kills one of them with just one punch. Because of that, he and Sola are punished together the following day. Afterward, Tars warns Sola that there's no more place in her body to burn, so her next punishment will be death. Then, he orders Carter to jump, but they are interrupted when somebody alerts them that the Flyers are coming. Referring to Helium and Zodanga, they are battling again, and the tribe begins betting who will win this time as they make the battle of the two cities a spectacle. At the same time up there, Sav then is looking for Deja as she happens to run away from him. This makes Sav then so mad that he wants to kill her. However, Mei Shang convinces him to only cripple the ship as they need Deja alive. Speaking of Deja, she dresses as one of the warriors in an attempt to escape. Unfortunately, she gets spotted by Sav, then so they manage to hit her ship, causing her to nearly fall. On the other hand, Carter sees her and decides to rescue her. Jumping high enough, he catches Deja to safety and fights her enemies. Witnessing this, Tars bets on Carter as he's proven to get toe-to-toe with Zodanga warriors and even their ruler. Later on, the Tharks join the battle and shoot at the ship of Zodanga, forcing them to back away. With that, the Tharks celebrate and Tars anoints Carter as Dotar Sojat, officially making him part of their tribe. Some time later, as the Tharks plunder the spoils of the battle, Carter approaches Deja, who's mourning the loss of her people. At this time, she asks him how he could jump that high, to which Carter just returns a question, asking how she learns to fly a ship. Confused, she asks if ships cannot sail light from where he came from. In turn, Carter says no, explaining that ships from Virginia travel the seas. Hearing this, Deja points out that there are no seas on their planet. Just then, Carter is starting to put the pieces together, yet he still seems to be lost. With that, Deja draws the solar system to the sand, revealing to Carter that he's on Barsoom, or what he knows as Mars. Here, Earth is called Jasum, and Deja asks how he came here from a different planet. Looking at Tars, Carter points at the medallion, stating that it's what brought him here. Seeing this, Deja says that he must be a Thurn, a holy messenger of the goddess Isis. At this time, Deja takes Carter to the Temple of Tharks. Sola tries to stop them, insisting that only Tharks can enter the temple, but they don't listen. Inside, Deja asks Carter what the goddess says, but he doesn't have any idea. Yet, he notices some writings on the wall, so he takes Deja for her to read it. According to Deja, it's an old scripture that says, "Those who seek the solace of eternity may journey down the river through the sacred gates of ice and find everlasting peace in the bosom of Isis." Knowing this, Deja tells Carter that she can take him to the gates of ice so he can finally go home to Earth. At first, Carter doubts her intentions, but he also knows that she's his only shot, so he takes her offer. Unfortunately, the other Tharks see them and think that they are disrespecting the temple and the goddess. Because of that, Tars is very disappointed in Carter, especially knowing that Sola's next offense will be punished by death. Yet, this makes Carter realize that Sola is Tars' daughter. In turn, Tars asks how did he know, to which Carter states that it's a father's intuition, signifying that he has his own family as well. With that, Tars takes Carter inside the tent, telling the other Tharks that he will personally punish him. Surprisingly, he turns out to be helping them to get out. But he asks Carter to take Sola with him to the River of Ice. Tars says that he rather wants Sola to die with goddess Isis than to die as food for the white apes. However, Tars' betrayal is discovered immediately, giving Tal Hages, Tars' rival, the opportunity to take the leadership from him. In the meantime, Carter, Deja, Sola, and even Woola begin their journey to the River of Ice. Deja states that it will be a 3-day journey, but Sola, later on, realizes that they are not taking the path to the river. Confronting Deja about it, she reveals to him that she's actually taking him to Helium. She begs for his help to defeat Zodanga, saying that she doesn't want to marry Sav then. At this time, Carter and Sola realize that Deja is the princess of Helium. However, Carter insists that he will not fight in other people's wars. In turn, Deja declares that if Zodanga wins the war by technically taking up Helium, it will be the end of Barsoom. She also adds that the river and gates of ice don't exist. Yet, Carter knows that they're real because of the medallion that he has. Just then, he finally convinces Deja to take him to the River of Ice, which turns out to be actually true. Sailing the river, they later on arrive at the gates of ice, discovering that it's man-made based on the 9th ray powering the place. Connecting the medallion to the 9th ray, the place lights up like the spider symbol back on the spider cave on Earth. It is then revealed that it represents the 9 planets of the solar system. Seeing this, Deja cannot believe that such power is being harnessed by Savin. Then, she realizes that he must have a Thurn by his side, giving him access to the power of the 9th ray. Studying the symbols further, it seems like Earth or Jasum is somehow connected to Mars or Barsoom. Then, when Carter gets transported from Earth to Mars, his body doesn't actually travel with him, but creates another body on Mars instead. Hence, there's still an unconscious Carter back in the cave on Earth while he's doing all the adventures here on Mars. But these are all just assumptions for now, according to Deja. She can help him more, but she says that they need to go to the Hall of Science in Helium so they can continue finding a way to get him home. Hearing this, Carter thinks that she's tricking him again into going to Helium, but she insists that everything they need is indeed in her city. Yet, to his surprise, Deja says that he truly doesn't want to go home just to get his gold. In fact, he's a man that's willing to lay his life for others, even for the people in Barsoom. Then, all of a sudden, Carter kisses Deja, and he remembers his wife and child. At this time, they are interrupted by loud noises outside and Sola's call for help. As it turns out, she's being attacked by a more vicious race of Tharks, the Warhoons, under the order of Mate Shang. Acting quickly, they sail back to the shore and try to escape, but the enemies are still catching up to them. Left with no other choice, Carter and Woola fight all of them. While doing so, he remembers the tragic death of his family. It is then revealed that Carter's wife and kid died in a fire together while he was away. Grieving, he buried his family right in the ashes of their burnt house. Later on, the Warhoons start overwhelming Carter. Luckily, a ship from Helium shows up and helps him. But to Deja's surprise, Sad then is with her father, acting like he's worried about her. Afterward, they are taken to Zodanga for Carter to be treated while Deja is being prepared for the wedding. When he wakes up, Kantos Khan, Tardo's trusted right-hand man, helps Carter to get to Deja by pretending to be taken hostage. There, Deja tells Carter that she finally knows how to send Carter back to Earth. And as they say the chant together, Sav then barges in, only to find that Deja is alone. Yet, Carter happens to be only hiding from him, deciding that it's not the time to go home yet. Unfortunately, he's spotted by Mate Shang, who's pretending to be one of Deja's attendants. With a restraint controlled by him, Mate Shang takes Carter into the city while changing forms now and then. Based on how the Thurn describes America, Carter realizes that he must have been to Earth already. Mate Shang then explains that the doom of Barsoom is not on them. He says that they are not causing the end of the world, but rather managing it. And with Sathan's constant hunger for power, it's easier to manipulate him than other rulers like Tardos. However, what terrifies Carter the most is Mate Shang's revelation that Deja will be killed after the wedding so Zodanga can fully take over Barsoom, ultimately leading up to the destruction of the planet. Fortunately, Woola shows up and attacks Mate Shang, freeing Carter of his restraints. He then goes back to Thark's tribe to gather an army to fight Zodanga, only to find that they are now ruled by Tal Haegis. Captured, Carter is thrown into the arena, along with a beaten-up Tars, to fight White Apes. At first, they struggle because Carter is chained while Tars is weak, but they, later on, manage to defeat the White Apes. And to everybody's surprise, Carter challenges Tal Haegis for the throne of the tribe. Everyone cheers for him, pissing off Tal Haegis. So he charges at Carter, making it his biggest mistake as Carter takes the opening to decapitate the leader of the Thark tribe, claiming the throne for himself. Afterward, Carter reveals to everyone the plan of Zodanga to betray Helium. He insists that if Helium falls, so will Barsoom and Tharks will fall as well. With that, they all charge Zodanga, ready to battle alongside Helium. Unfortunately, they find no one as the wedding turns out to be happening in Helium. With time not on their side, Carter tells the Tharks that they will fly, but Tars says they don't fly. Due to that, Carter flies to Helium alone, crashing the wedding and alerting everyone that it's a setup. This causes a battle to ensue between the two cities. Not long after, the Tharks arrive through airships, causing the advantage to get into the side of Helium. Meanwhile, Carter takes down Sav then and confronts him about the Thurns. However, before he can tell him anything, the ninth ray covers Sav then's head and crushes it. It also attaches to Carter's body, but Deja luckily stops Mate Shang from crushing his head as well. In turn, Mate holds Deja hostage, but she takes the opportunity to steal his medallion from him and throw it at Carter. Then, he throws it to the crowd, causing Mate to push Deja to pursue the medallion. After catching her, Carter follows Mate and sees that he takes his form to ask Tars to give him the medallion. Unfortunately, it's already too late as the Thurn gets his hand on the medallion and escapes immediately. Yet, despite this little loss, they still win as Zodanga is finally defeated at last. Because of that, Carter and Deja get married just as the Tharks become officially part of Helium. Some time later, Deja wakes up on an empty bed beside her. Looking for Carter, she finds him looking over the city, stating that there's still a part of him that misses Earth. With that, Deja permits him to go, under the condition that he won't take long. However, Carter changes his mind at the last minute and throws his medallion instead, embracing the moniker John Carter of Mars. This is then the opportunity that Mate Shang, who's posing as one of the guards, is waiting for, and he quickly transports Carter back to Earth. Just then, he wakes up in the Cave of Gold with the remains of Powell at the entrance. Panicking, he tries to go back to Barsoom by chanting repeatedly, but fails over and over again. That's why he decides to use the fortune that he got from the Cave of Gold in search of the medallion on Earth. Remembering how Mate Shang perfectly describes Earth, he knows that the Therns were here on Earth at some point in history, until one day he finally finds the medallion. Going back to Ned, the journal finishes with Carter stating that the Therns had been watching him since he went back to Earth. And he knew that they would destroy his body once they found him, so he cannot truly go back to Barsoom. With that, he tasked Ned to protect his body, pointing out that Mate Shang must be in his mausoleum now as he finishes reading. Acting quickly, Ned goes to the mausoleum and finds nothing. Examining the door, he knows that his uncle will put a secret way to open it from the outside. Just then, he presses the letters N, E, and D on the letterings on the door, finally opening it. But he doesn't notice that a man is about to stab him from behind, using a 9th ray. Luckily and unexpectedly, Carter shows up and shoots the Thern, killing him. At this time, Carter reveals to Ned that he never found a medallion and he just faked his death, hoping that a Thern will show up to destroy his body to get their medallion. And before he closes the door, Carter tells his nephew to get a life of adventure of his own. The movie ends with Carter lying down in the mausoleum, chanting the words back to Barsoom to go back to Deja, the love of his life. John Carter is truly an underrated movie of its time. With a basic plot, they managed to pull off a great execution, plus the unexpected twist in the end makes the film so good. Overall, this movie is highly recommended, especially for your family movie nights.